even though it's online, it's still a wonderful family, and I feel close to all of you, especially the ones that I can connect with through the comments. I really love that so much. So tonight, thank you, Luna, my little requester. She is amazing. Thank you, Luna. Luna brings us a request tonight, for the 3,000 milestone. Now, I know some people don't even think that's a big deal, but honestly, I never even expected to have 300, so I'm going to celebrate every milestone I possibly can. Tingly video. But tonight, we are going to be reading, discussing, and exploring the most haunted places in the world that are older than the United States. We're going to be doing really, really old buildings, talking about old castles, asylums, hospitals, places, just anything and everything you can think of that's extremely old. So sit back, and if you would like to subscribe, feel free. I'm not going to be even. This is for you. This video is for you. So if you want to subscribe, great. But if you just want to sit back and relax, close your eyes. If you want to put a thumbs up, that's great. But if you are just wanting to relax, then don't do anything and luck right away. You know, and you can't look at those people and say, oh, well, just because I didn't have luck the first week I started does not mean I cannot be as successful as I want to be. Because there's creators that started after me and have 30,000 subscribers. Well, you know, that's okay. I love watching them. I am subscribed to many people. All my lists are public. Please feel free and check them all out. I love them all, from the top of the top to the little tiny channels like myself. So let's begin, shall we? How about the most haunted house in the world? It comes with human bones and a mummified cat. An English woman, Caroline Humphreys, is now 60 years old. She moved into the ancient Ram Inn in 1968. She swears it is one of the most haunted houses in the world. She was only 8 years old at the time she moved into this creepy house, and throughout the years, she has experienced and revealed some of the horrific things that have gone on in this inn in the town of Wootton under Edge, Gloucestershire, England. So her parents, yes, Caroline's parents, initially purchased the 1,000-year-old property to run it as a bed and breakfast. But guess what? As they discovered over the years, they were in for more than they bargained for. Quote, she says, a diviner told my dad there were children buried all over the place, and when he dug, he found the bones and the daggers wrapped with them, which implied sacrificial killings, unquote. Humphreys told the news. So the inn dates back to 1145, and I did a brief summary of this inn quite a while ago, but I remember it is extremely haunted. There's a bedroom that is all red at the once operating inn that is very creepy. A specialist uncovered the bones of a strange being and thought at first they were animal bones, but instead they were human remains. With the teeth, Caroline's partner, Mick, he discovered even more bones under the staircase of a room on the ground floor. Now this included a jawbone, skull, spine, and femur bones. This is crazy stuff. Now where I'm going to post the pictures, they're in the copyright of Jam Press and Caroline Humphreys, so I'm not taking any credit for these pictures. I'm just showing them as they are. There was an archaeological report saying that the daggers on the bodies that were discovered with the bodies, the dates are unidentified, but guess what? They actually had the nerve to steal from the display cases. Now, I would think that that would leave them with the worst karma ever. Now, her father, John, found most of the grisly objects hidden inside their home, which dates back, remember, to 1145. Over the past few decades, including a pile of bones buried in the dirt alongside a set of daggers, which he dug up underneath the sandstones located in the lounge area. She says, quote, "My father took the bones he had found to a specialist who informed him that they were definitely not animal bones, so the mystery of whose remains they are and why they were buried with daggers needed to be investigated." Unquote. This is what Humphreys disclosed. Now, curiously, there was another discovery. A 500-year-old mummified cat. A 500-year-old mummified cat inside a wall. Humphreys herself believes was used to ward off witches. Due to the lime render in Cotswold stone walls, the cat was able to be preserved for centuries. Now, this is considered to be in good shape upon its discovery, according to the preservationists in the Stroud Museum nearby. More recently, Mr. Humphreys has passed on. However, Caroline's partner Mick discovered more bones, like I had said earlier, underneath the staircase of a room on the ground floor. Can you imagine you're walking through a room or cleaning out a room on the ground floor of this house, and you find a skull, jaw, spine, and femur bones under the staircase? Now that's creepy. So considered a grade 2 listed in, meaning it warrants every effort of preservation in England. It was reportedly built on an ancient pagan burial ground. Now, as a witch myself, I would, depending on, I guess, who and why they built this in over the remains of my family, I would probably be pretty upset. So, over the years, it has become a popular ghost paranormal investigation destination by ghost hunters worldwide. I mean, can you imagine? I can. So, Caroline herself is suspicious and believes there is a secret cellar and passageway connecting to the buildings of the inn. Now, it doesn't stop there, actually. Other really weird, creepy, scary findings was not only the 500-year-old cat inside the wall, but skulls of babies and just the teeth of others. The inn is near a church, which was built by slaves and the Catholic monks who lived in the home back in 1145. Humphreys believes there are secret cellars and passageways connecting the inn to the church that have yet to be tracked down. But, quote, the caveat in the deeds from the Whitbreads from My question is, would you live in a house or an inn with that much history and sinister evil lurking beneath it? Moving on. Moving on. As you all know, if you have been listening, to my channel for a while, you know that I am afraid of the Japanese folklore, because I believe that there is truth in chess. Oya Bactiu forest in Romania. From the moment a military technician captured a photograph of a UFO, quote unquote, hovering over the forest in 1968, this Oya Bactiu has gained this paranormal notoriety around the world. Now, some believe it to be a actual portal that causes visitors to disappear. Those who have passed through the forest without being zapped into another realm have reported rashes, nausea, feelings of utter, unexplainable, paralyzing anxiety. It is known affectionately as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. Now, this creepy world of curved trees and endless scary tales. It just adds to the eeriness and the atmosphere when you walk through Chuck Lagoon, Micronesia. Well, what about a 50-foot underwater graveyard? Well, it is believed to be extremely haunted. Micronesia's Chunk Lagoon, formerly Truck Lagoon, served as a fortified base for the Navy. Japan during World War II. It was attacked by American forces during a 3-day airstrike in 1944. Dozens of warships, planes, tanks, and railroad cars sank to the bottom of the lagoon, where they still lie today, comfortingly known as Ghost Fleet of Truck Lagoon. The ship's graveyard is immensely popular with the brave scuba diver. And one quote saying, "One of the best wreck diving destinations on the planet," unquote. Underwater explorers can swim up close to the wartime vessels, which are littered with weapons, gas masks, and according to some superstitious divers, a few waterlogged ghosts. I have never heard of this place, but can you imagine? I'm afraid to go too deep into the depths of the US planes attacked the large formation of the Japanese ships trapped inside the sandbars that made the lagoon a natural harbor. Over 60 ships and hundreds of Japanese aircraft were destroyed, turning the atoll's shallow water into a graveyard of men and war material. Some of the myths of Chuck sitting on a fishing canoe saw a middle-aged Chuckese woman describes a legend of the ghost of Chuck. I think I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm butchering it. The legend told of the fear of a ghost that haunts the island. He was a smart ghost and a local magician who disguised himself as a handsome Chuckese man. With his power of magic, he concocted a love potion made from crushy stingray tail, black hands, and centipede legs. He gave it to the beautiful women who liked handsome men instead of not so handsome men with good hearts. Every time a beautiful woman followed him into the forest, hoping for a delightful romp in the bush with a handsome man, he became ugly and consumed the woman from toe to ears. Now there's a little moral of this legend, wouldn't you say? The beautiful, romantic-minded girl in a man's handsome face can hide a hideous, ghostly heart. Remember, pretty is skin deep, or ugly is to the core. Moving on to the Czech Republic. The ghosts of St. George's Church in Likova. So, for nearly 50 years, this church, St. George's, in the Czech Republic, lies in the village of Likova. It is abandoned. The last congregation, which was held in this 14th century church, was in 1968 during a funeral service. The ceiling and part of the roof collapsed, sending all of the people inside running for their lives. Terrified locals took it as a bad omen and never went inside this church ever again. The church slowly crumbled away while sermons and services were held outside. The communists looted everything of value that was inside: paintings, statues, the church bell, the clock tower. The church organ was damaged beyond repair, at least back then. Now in 2014, a professor at the Department of Design and Fine Arts from the University of West Bohemia asked his third-year bachelor students to find a suitable but dilapidated church for an installation of artwork. Each student was to find themselves their own church. Now, some students found churches that had only had a foundation or a few walls, but this young Jacob Adarava knew exactly where he wanted to go. Yes, you guessed it. St. George's Church in Likova. It had been so abandoned, destroyed, abused, and stripped to the core. see it look good again. So even, I guess, though it was in disrepair, it was in the bones were good. Somehow its roof was damaged from the last time it fell in, and when actually the last congregation was ever held there. But even with the looting and abuse, it survived. It was functional. That's how strong this church's walls were. And that's all Jacob needed for his sculptures. So Jacob built more than 12 life-size ghostly figures dressed in robes and seated them in the church's pews. Now, how, you ask, did he make the figures? He said, quote, I decided to make figure sculptures from plaster, which of course meant getting help of models who you prepared to cast. In my case, the models were fellow students. I did one cast in the church itself, but after that I made a copy of a bench or pew and cast the sculptures at school. It means wrapping the model in plastic and a raincoat to protect their skin, adding different textiles dipped in plaster to create the overall shape in their hoods. A single statue with a little luck to ground, half an hour to complete, unquote. Jacob ghostly installations attracted enormous amount of attention, as you can imagine, drawing all of these tourists from around the world. Petre Kokul says that they had visitors from the countries of Germany, England, Australia, Brazil, Russia. Eventually, this bizarre project kickstarted an interest in saving other dilapidated churches in the area. Now, he has raised enough money to fund a new roof. He hopes the church will soon be restored to its former glory, as it is a beautiful church, and as you can see, the sculptures are sitting in the pews like ghosts. Actually quite, I don't know, intriguing and alarming all at the same time. Church would be built in 13, that's right, 13 1352. Now Jacob, the artist of the statue, said that he could feel the ghostly presence, but they were calming to him and not scary in the least bit. On to haunted forest, Witkowice, Poland. Now, there are things that have happened here that are hard to understand and are happening there at this moment. The forest covering an area of 15 hectares located along a part of the Bibikazaka Valley and the Witkowice. I'm just guessing the name region is considered by many to be one of the most mysterious and dark, evil places in Poland. Sad and difficult to explain. suicide for centuries. The forest is said that a number of hangmen per square kilometer is well above the national average. Now, Poland is not a very large country, so take that into consideration. But how about back in 2001, the mysterious disappearance of a group of students? Is it an urban legend or deliberately abandoned investigation? Your skeptic says that allegedly what happened in this forest October 2001 is just a so-called legend. In fact, this may be due to the effective cover-up of events by the local police and media. Here is the story. Due to lack of evidence, this only remains a legend. But it says that on the occasion of the beginning of the academic year, 9 students from Krakow decided to build a bonfire party in the forest, gathering friends, and go have some fun. None of them returned home the next day. The search began, but nobody was found. Now, if 9 students disappear and nobody has found them, how is this an urban legend? The investigation discontinued for unknown reasons. After a short time, young people would lose their hearing completely, and to this day it is not known exactly what happened to them there either, where they are now, and whether they are still alive at all. Now, why wouldn't they come forward to even talk about it if they were still alive? According to, the information I found on the internet, there is a man who wrote an article that was apparently friends of the missing students, and he said the police supposedly covered up the tragic incident, but it is difficult to say exactly why this happened, and he doesn't even know. He's confused and just wants answers for his lost friends. Nevertheless, the mere disappearance of 9 people was not the last mysterious event related to this. So 6 months after the night in question, a group of young people went to the mysterious forest in Goetz to drink a few beers for their missing friends, in memory and hope that they would return. But during this trip, something very unexpected happened. A group of friends at some point noticed a strange reflection of light deep within the forest. It felt like it was pulling them, forcing them to walk closer to the source. Young men and women decided that it was a camera. The sun's rays reflected in the objective lens, causing a mysterious glare. There was a film on the camera. They developed the film. Friends at the secrets. These secrets described in the legend of the Wildgood's forest, which took us a long time to put together. Unquote. So if you want to look up the legend of the Wildgood's forest, you will find all of the strange phenomenon that happened there. So during the bizarre accounts that happened during the forest party, a photo from a camera found. Apparently, the last person to come into contact with the missing group of students was a man living at the edge of the forest who warned the young people around 8:30 p.m. He said, "The forest is a dangerous place. Do not go into it." Unfortunately, the students ignored this silly old man and the good advice and continued the party. 2 days after the disappearance, the families reported the incident to the police. So she began her search with reluctance, and only in the 4th day after a group of young people mysteriously disappeared, desperate families referred to the case to the detectives, hoping for some new evidence, but they found nothing. What makes this place so evil? What is it about the forest in Wildgood's, Poland? It's an ancient place of dark rituals. According to local legend, Wildgood's was a quiet village for many years. It was on the edge of a small forest. The inhabitants cultivated the land, picked mushrooms. Now the story goes that Wildgood's was built on the remains of an old settlement called Verena, which was also completely burned down in the 18th century. In this former settlement, there was a pagan temple built of stone where dark rituals were performed in honor of the sinister, cruel deity. Pagans are not sinister, cruel, so this was of dark magic. It was not of pagan beliefs. Now, due to this dark magic, the forest, this beautiful, enchanting forest, begins to change, pulsating negative energy throughout its veins. The legend says, after accidental mushroom pickers noticed pagan rituals saturated the forest with evil, decided to destroy the settlement. How is there a grain of truth in this at all? Are there actual documents about pagan rituals and ancient surroundings of the Wildgood's forest? Well, nobody really knows. There's no historical evidence that has been found to this day, or maybe it was destroyed, or anything in the forest that can confirm any of the rumors of such inhabitants. Not found, but in truth, no one has ever made such a search to find evidence. They're too afraid. The forest in Wildgood's is a horrifying place, only because of the fact that a huge number of suicides have been committed in this forest. And according to some, it is because of the supernatural phenomena that exists inside of it. So, what is the supernatural phenomena? What is all this about? Well, I guess for years, the Wildgood's forest has been a place of constant pilgrimages of mystery hunters and researchers of paranormal phenomena. located in Brittany, France. Now this is said to be the forest of King Arthur legend, and is rumored to be the home to the tomb of Merlin. Well, that doesn't make it particularly creepy in itself, except that Van San Redor, Valley of No Return, is said to be where the sorceress Morgan Le Fay, King Arthur's half-sister, imprisoned young unfaithful men and let them die. Talk about a woman scorned. Now, in more recent times, the valley was a site of a horrible fire in the 90s that ravaged the forest, memorialized by a golden tree at the entrance to the valley, planted a year later. Now, just to move out of the ancient forest and into the ancient waters of Australia, just for a moment. The Devil's Pool in Australia is a natural pool created by surrounding boulders and a waterfall that feeds into it. It is so beautiful and alluring, however, people say it is cursed. The local legend, Ulana, an Aboriginal woman, drowned herself in this beautiful pool after being separated from her true love. She still searches for him today, luring young men to their death in the green, crystal clear waters. 16 young men have died there in the past 50 years, says news.com Australia. Holy crap. That's a lot. I mean, either a serial killer is dumping bodies there and using the legend as a cover-up, or something is really wrong there. Manak Swamp. Now, Julia Brown was a voodoo priestess. Now, she used to sit on her front porch near the Manak Swamp and sing, "Oh, one day I'm gonna die and I'm gonna take all of you with me." So reports say that curse turned out to be true, because on the day of Brown's funeral in 1915, a Category 4 hurricane tore through the area, causing hundreds of deaths from drowning. Now, today, people hear Brown cackling on the shores of the swamp. But if you think that's scary, ghost hunters have seen unbelievable events while recording there. Wow. Bride's Pool in Hong Kong. The Bride's Pool, a natural pool created by boulders. Now, there is something eerie about boulders. In the last one, there are boulders. In this one, there are boulders. In Mr. Pauline's books on the missing 411, it is usually by boulders. I don't know what it is with boulders, but a natural pool created by boulders in Bride's Pool in Hong Kong with an adjoining waterfall is said to have gotten its name because a bride fell to the water and drowned on the way to her wedding. this place in Scotland, and this is probably the most popular, or at least in my time, most popular mythical belief, the Loch Ness Monster. 300,000 visitors go each year, and one or two bona fide sightings are captured. There is an official Loch Ness Monster fan club. However, odds continue to inspire visitors who always carry a camera ready just in case Nessie decides to make an appearance. I don't know, I was there and it wasn't that creepy. And a loch in Scotland is just a lake where it always seems so much more spooky when you think about it as a loch instead of Lake Ness Monster. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. How about the Bermuda Triangle? How so many things have been said to have disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, found by Bermuda, Miami, and Puerto Rico. Countless airplanes and ships have dared to enter the 500,000 square mile perimeter in perfectly good weather and not the slightest hint of engine malfunction to disappear forever. Also known as the Devil's Triangle. Well, here's the thing that's kind of odd that is a personal story of mine. Not that I knew these people, but there was a restaurant in the town I lived in for many years in Florida. And they owned a restaurant, a very popular, very successful restaurant. They go out on a huge yacht with another couple, both couples extremely wealthy. They apparently, being very, very seasoned seamen, and should never have had any issues with weather or concerns about not coming back, literally disappeared out of nowhere and have never been seen again. And I always wonder, and that was in the Bermuda Triangle, and I always wonder where they are and how could a almost 200-foot yacht just disappear. I mean, it would be almost impossible that somebody wasn't watching where they were going at all times. They had to have been on the radar, being as famous and wealthy as these people were. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it was to escape something else and they're still alive somewhere. I don't know. I do often wonder. I have been to Edinburgh Castle in Scotland as well. I have pictures of me. Now, before I go into this amazing castle that is considered very haunted, probably the neatest thing is there is an old dog graveyard up on top, and I have pictures in my camera somewhere. Hopefully Apple didn't delete them. So sections of the castle date back more than 900 years. The historic fortress' ancient dungeons have led many visitors to report sightings of colonial prisoners from the American Revolutionary the 7-Year War. In the event, even the ghosts of a dog wandering the castle's dog cemetery. It is pretty creepy, actually. Now, Isla de las Muñecas, Mexico. Now, Mexico has had a very violent and scary past. But this is the island of the dolls, which I find to be creepy in itself. The Aztec life was a very, well, to say the least, tumultuous. But hidden among the region's many canals, the site is famous for the hundreds of dolls and doll parts hanging from the trees and scattered among the grass. Now that to me is just scary in itself. I would not even begin to go on to that property. Used to be the residence of a now deceased man named Julian Santa Barrera. After finding a dead girl's body in a nearby canal, Barrera collected and displayed the toys in the hopes of warding off evil spirits. Daring souls can hire their own boat and view the island safely from the water. So there is a ghost town, Al Madam, United Arab Emirates. Now, there is a ghost town that is so creepy and eerie, but is beautiful. Al Madam is no exception. Located 40 miles southeast of Dubai, the village, most likely built in the 70s, deserted shortly after, a fact that local legend attributes to the jinn-shaped shifting spirits, scaring people out of town. No one knows whether or not the spirits have lingered, but Al Madam still has a sort of haunted quality to it. Dunes encroaching on the 2 rows of houses, and I must say, a mosque, sand falling through broken windows like waves, and a seemingly endless sea of ochre desert stretching out in every direction. My half-brother had to do some, I don't know, cleanup, technical stuff after the war in Iraq, and he would, I think I've said this before, he would Skype my dad, and in it you could see he was by himself in the middle of the desert with a camel, but nobody else was there. Miles and miles. I would be deathly afraid. I'm sorry, that just would scare me to death. You imagine being alone in the desert at night No other supernatural murders have occurred since then, but some visitors claim to catch glimpses of Guna's ghost figure through the billowing mists of the pools from time to time. The Forbidden City in Beijing, China. I've never been, but I have heard about the Forbidden City. Forbidden City. Now it's China's former imperial palace, now serves as a museum. But you might not know that the popular tourist destination has a reputation among supernatural enthusiasts. 600-year tenure as a palace, the complex had its fair share of murders, whether from jealous concubines poisoning one another or executions performed at the emperor's behest. Anyway you slice it, there have been many reports of strange phenomena since the palace opened to the public in the 40s. The most common story involves a woman dressed in white, as most ghost stories do, strolling around the grounds and crying her eyes out hysterically. But here's the thing, was the castle actually haunted first to make these people do these horrible things, or was it the horrible things the people did to make the castle haunted? The Forbidden City. Leap. Castle in Ireland. Between the 13th and late 15th century, this castle was built. The Irish castle has seen more gruesome deaths than the Game of Thrones. As legend says, during a struggle for power within the O'Carroll clan, which had a fondness for poisoning dinner guests, don't want to be a guest there. One member plunged a sword into his brother, a priest, as he was holding mass in the castle's chapel. The room is now called the Bloody Chapel, and the priest is said to haunt the church at night. But it doesn't stop there. Well, and at least according to the macabre history outlined on Leap Castle's website. During renovations in the early 1900s, workmen found a secret dungeon in the Bloody Chapel with so many human skeletons they filled 3 cartloads when hauled away. The dungeon was designed so that prisoners would fall through a trapdoor, have their lungs punctured by wooden spikes on the ground, and die a slow, horrific death within earshot of the sinister clan members above. That is probably the creepiest, most disturbing thing I've ever read so far. Poveglia Island in Venice. Less than half a mile from the canals of Venice, Poveglia Island has served as a quarantine zone for bubonic plague victims, storage space for Napoleon's weapons, and the site of an early 20th century insane asylum. The asylum played host to horrific medical experiments. Finally closed for good when a doctor threw himself off the institution's bell tower. Locals still claim to hear echoing chimes from the island. Even though the bell was removed decades ago, it is illegal to visit Poveglia today, but you can see the island and decaying hospitals safely from the beaches of nearby Lido. Castle of Good Hope, South Africa. So near Cape Town in Table Bay, the Castle of Good Hope dates back to 16 Now that's bizarre. According to the Castle of Good Hope's official website, his ghost has been haunting the battlements ever since. Well, that's crazy. Thornach Castle, New Zealand. This extravagant house was built between 1871 and 1887. Yes, not the oldest. Not the oldest place I've talked about tonight. But it served as the residence of Mr. William Larnach, a predominant, very prominent New Zealand politician. Most notable is a 3,000 square foot ballroom, which Larnach had built as a 21st birthday present for his favorite daughter, Kate, who later died of typhoid fever at the age of 26. She is said to still haunt the ballroom, but don't chalk up those taps on your shoulder and whispers in your ear as all up to imagination. The building has been visited by hundreds of paranormal investigators and featured on Ghost Hunters International. La Recoleta Cemetery, Buenos Aires. I hope I'm saying all these names right. I apologize if I'm not. You don't have to be religious to be completely in awe and emotionally moved by La Recoleta Cemetery, featuring thousands of amazing statues, fairy tale grottos, and intricate tombstones. It's actually quite incredible. Oh, the remains of Argentina's most iconic figure, Eva Perón. The stone walkways and labyrinth of mausoleums are as beautiful as they are creepy. Recoleta has a couple of haunted legends of its own. One of the most famous stories involves David Eleno, a former grave digger and caretaker who worked the cemetery for 30 years before committing suicide. There have been reports of hearing Eleno's keys jangling as his ghost walks the pathways at dawn. Crumlin Road, Gale, Northern Ireland. A Victorian-era prison in Belfast, one of the most haunted sites in Northern Ireland. Many refer to it as Europe's Alcatraz. The prison housed 25,000 plus inmates, men, women, and children during its 150 years of operation. Publicly hung many prisoners, buried their bodies within the prison walls. The institution officially shut its doors in 1996, but the ghosts of deceased inmates are said to roam the iron walkways today. If you want to spend your vacation here, actually step inside and see that the park is covered with more than a thousand statues, each one being more bizarre and odd than the last. Lovers of all things macabre, this is your place. The underworld-themed 10 Courts of Hell series of dioramas that portrays severe modes of punishment as ways to teach your young children about morality, while detailed depictions of dismemberment are terrifying. But the wax statues depicting condemned souls are said to come to life at night. Holy shit. You can hear their tortured screams in the halls when you visit. So yeah, everybody bring your children. Bangara, Port India, located just 100 miles of Delhi. The lush ruins of this port make for a curious, well, barrier against the desert landscape of Rajasthan, I'm guessing. To this day, the oasis remains largely uninhabited due to an alleged curse cast by a disgruntled sorcerer after his advances were rebuffed by a local princess. It's always about love, isn't it? If you prefer your trips to skew more spiritual than haunted, Travelers, former editor-at-large Anya Yanakaihara suggests saluting the sun during a session of yoga before dusk. Now heading back in time, the Tower of London, England, built by William the Conqueror in 1066. This uncompromising fortress has served many, many functions, but the bloody history as a prison and execution site is definitely one of them. Henry VIII famously ordered the execution of two of his wives, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, right in these walls. It is also where two young princes were in prison after the death of their father, King Edward IV. They disappeared right after the execution or the death of their father in 1483. Their remains were not found until 1647. Ghosts haunt the towers. The victims and the ghosts haunt all through the royal palaces abound. So, I've talked about this before. Aokigahara Forest in Japan. The serene or falsely serene forest at the foot of Mount Fuji is a tormented past, colloquially known as Suicide Forest. 500 reported suicides since 1950, reports the BBC. But why? Why so many after 1950? Well, there are those who blame this trend in the Forest Association with box was rediscovered in 1890. However, since then, Una Dunitches served as an important archaeological site. Under the radar, tourist attraction and hotbed of ghostly sightings, the ancient city is said to be severely haunted by one female ghost, a black-haired maiden with red glowing eyes. She was first spotted by one of the earliest research teams in 1893, and she has been seen near El Castillo, the tallest building in the complex, many, many, many times. No one knows who this lady is. They just call her the Stone Lady. But of course, in speculation, she may have been a human sacrifice whose death ritual was performed on top of the El Castillo pyramid. Borgo Bandinet. Sorry if I butchered that. Haunted Picard, Sweden. One of our younger places, built in 1876. Weird happenings have been noted in this personage since the 1960s. But why not before? That's my question. The gray wooden structure now serves as a bed and breakfast in a rural area in northern Sweden with snowmobiling, fishing, and not a lot else. Guests at Borgvandenet have claimed to hear footsteps, music, and the sound of 3 crying ladies coming from the inn. The proprietors will reward you with a certificate that says you stayed through the night. Oh my god, that's horrific. Seriously, I mean, if you're getting rewarded because you actually spent the night there, that's terrifying. Himeji Castle, Japan. This castle dates to 1333 and is regarded as one of the greatest remaining examples of Japanese castle architecture. But through all that time, the creepy, eerie folklore associated with it is terrifying. Most notably, the story of Okiku, one-time palace servant who was falsely accused of losing valuable dishes. She was murdered and thrown into the well in the castle. Her ghost now haunts the castle at night, counting dishes in a mournful tone. She reaches 9 before shrieking and returning to the well. Bandesisto, Rome. In a city as ancient as Rome, practically every brick in every building has a story that has some kind of malice, sinister, or creepy past. But in many cases, those stories are more than creepy or scary. One such tale surrounds the Ponte Sisto, a romantic bridge spanning the Tiber near Rome City Center. Local legend says that if you visit the bridge at sunrise, you will see a charging carriage helmed by the ghost of Olympia. Medicini, Pope Innocent X's advisor, hence her nickname the female Pope. The spectral occurrence is said to be Olympia's attempt to flee the city with the church's gold, just as she allegedly did after Pope Innocent X's death in 1655. While the Ponte Sisto is closed to pedestrian traffic, you can visit the bridge as part of a dark Rome's daily tour. Port Arthur, Tasmania. Port Arthur began as a penal colony in 1833, housing British convicts until it was abandoned in 1877. Now, during those decades, the island was called inescapable, focused on, well, penalizing, correcting, or reforming the inmates' morality using solitary confinement and mandatory church services, forced religion. The settlement has been a destination for ghost hunters for many years since its time of abandonment. Impressive apparatus for remembering, complete with a very interactive exhibit for children and well-trained guides. Great, you can go visit the Isle of the Dead too, which is an island housing the bodies of deceased convicts in unmarked graves. Now that's where the ghosts would be. Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is known for many eerie, spooky things, but one of the more famous ones is the island of Tierra and San Juan. Theater known for its plays, concerts, and paranormal activity. According to urban myth, an actress fell to her death while performing the theater. She returned to haunt the venue. Visitors claim to see her spirit wander the theater grounds. Others have reported mysterious footsteps, doors swinging open and shut, unseen choir voices coming from the stage. Teatro Tapia still holds frequent ballet music performances, so get a ticket and see a local ghost as well. Parador de Jean, Spain. 18th century Arab fortress overlooking the Andalusian landscape. who's outfitted in a gray suit and is seen wearing this suit. And he appears in the same room from time to time. In the old Parliament House, well, security guards and the cleaning staff hear their names whispered in the night, Carlbeck House, Canada. A lumberman, Carlbeck, in the late 1800s, is known as the most haunted house in Ontario. Beck and his family lived in the house together. His wife died, and the eldest daughter, Mary, was put in charge of raising the younger children. Years later, Carl died. He inexplicably left Mary $1 in his will to an angry female ghost, assuming it's Mary, is said to appear in the upstairs window. Now, if you had to raise the younger kids your whole life, instead of having your own life, you'd probably haunt it too. Lord Milner Hotel in South Africa. It's known for many haunted hotels, but one of them is Lord Milner. Located on the edge of the remote Great Karoo, the town was command headquarters during the South African War, the turn of the 20th century, as well as the site of subsequent and controversial war crime hearings. So, given this horrific history, there's quite the paranormal activity that still lingers there. According to the hotel itself, says that there are some ghostly guests who never seem to check out, including Lucy, a negligee wearing a specter who makes noises behind closed doors from time to time. Berg, Eltz, Germany. Now this dates back to 1157, so you know there must be hundreds of tales and myths and legends about this castle. But the most interesting, a young countess named Agnes, who was betrothed to a fellow noble but called off the engagement after she met him. He sucked. He wasn't her type. He was unattractive. Now the scorned nobleman was pissed, laid siege to the castle, and Agnes perished after taking up arms to defend her castle. Her mournful spirit can still be sensed today in her former bedroom, and her pierced armor and battle axe on display. Eden Brown Estate, Nevis. So right by St. Kitts, Nevis is just as much to offer travelers, maybe even more morbidly inclined. Eden Brown Estate, a former plantation that now lies in ruins. The estate was originally owned by a wealthy businessman who intended to give the property to his daughter as a wedding present. However, a mysterious duel between the groom and the best man left both men dead on the day of the wedding. The daughter remained unmarried and alone for the rest of her life. places on Earth known to man. Well, it barely looks like much more than a pond, yet hundreds of meters deep down below is the bottom. Multiple people have died there. It is thousands of years old, and there's only been one or two people that have actually reached the bottom. Underwater caves that are ancient are high up on my list, if not up right at the very top. My father used to cave dive, made a solid video of different underwater caves in Mexico. I breathed in his respirator once while I was above water, and even that was too claustrophobic for me. He passed away several years ago, but his buddy ashes in his favorite underwater cave. Back Australia is one of the most dangerous and haunted places, I think, in the world. If you're traveling, nobody expects to see you up for a week at least. Nobody expects phone calls or messages, as there's no phone service. If you break down, it could take a couple days until you are found by a passing car. If they don't find you in time, the dry extreme heat will kill you. You could never pack back enough water to survive as long as it takes for someone to notice you're even missing. It's unforgiving and a horrible way to die. Not to mention that if you die, the heat will decompose you in a matter of days. Scavengers will scatter you all over the place, meaning your family may never even know. Koalian volcano constantly spews sulfuric acid gas and liquid lit up with bright blue flames, and it is a lake of acid with pH down to 0.5. This is one of the most ancient, creepiest, most terrifying places I think on Earth. But even more scarier to me, towns that have been flooded to make a reservoir. The idea that there are people's belongings and houses down there at the bottom of the lake, preserved in the cold, icy water, like Lanier in Georgia. That's what they did. Now, there is even an entire town and cemetery under the lake surface. Many people die in it every year, and the urban legend is that it's haunted because of all the dead bodies beneath the surface. What lies beneath? Many of those people die in suspicious circumstances. It's also a major drinking water source for Atlanta metro area. So they're basically drinking water full of dead body debris. That's crazy. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Snake Island, but there's 2 snakes per square meter approximately. That's the scariest thing. I never want to visit that. Sukir Island. I 6-month stints, and only then after a battery of psychology tests. I always try to raise them on radio as we go past. They always seem happy enough, but you're right, if they get the tests wrong, I'm thinking next level. Steam